Hey guys, welcome to another of my sci-fi build series. This will again be another pictorial step by step, this time my build of a Warhammer Warlord Battle Titan. This build came out of a desire to deviate from aircraft for a while and explore other genres. This Titan was started by my friend Jeremy, who is the owner of Forbes Hobbies here in Cambridge, Ontario, and I begged him to let me finish, to which he gladly obliged. Now, for all you die-hard Warhammer fans out there, this build might be a bit upsetting to you because I know absolutely nothing about the subject material, so I took quite a lot of creative liberty with it. And despite wanting to get away from aircraft, I did use quite a few aircraft techniques on it. So sit back and hopefully enjoy. If you like this video and would like to see more, then please subscribe to this channel and like my Facebook page, the Styrene Air Force. So, Warhammer is a type of tabletop strategy game. It wasn't something I got into, but I was however intrigued by the vehicles from this game. The Titans, a sort of walking tank, the tanks, and of course, the aircraft. But what was more intriguing was the fantasy aspect. It seemed like a freedom to do whatever you wanted or whatever you desired to do. No real rules like you'd find in a historical subject. Yeah, I know, I was wrong about that. Even fantasy has its rules. Too bad, Warhammer nerds. Yeah, don't worry, I'm a nerd too. This is basically the kit of which it is. It's one of the gaming size kits. This kit came with a paint guide for 2 colorings. Neither of these colorings are being used. I decided that I wanted this to be my own. I got the kit, as I said, basically partially done. No instructions, they were misplaced, and this upped the difficulty for me a bit. But after reviewing dozens of pictures online for inspiration, I had gotten a basic idea of its assembly. Anyways, who needs instructions? Not this guy. I had to do some basic cleanup on these, actually further to what was previously done. Not that it was done poorly, but I'm a bit more fussy as an aircraft modeler, and seams are like a sin. Also, it seems from my research, these kits went together like a skid of bricks anyways. Once I got it all sorted out, seams fixed and filled, screw attachment gates cleaned up, etc., I gave them a coat of primer. Again, my primer of choice is an automotive grade primer thinned with lacquer thinner. The more parts are all primed. As you can see, I decided to drill out the gun barrel. Again, my aircraft mentality. So just to give you an idea, that's a Q-tip stuck in there. I also wanted to go a little bit further and get some battle damage going. So, some shell hits, scratches, bullet pings, and some weld beads for some repairs done. It's a combat unit after all, a futuristic tank if you will. Also, as part of the battle hardness, I took the rocket launchers and drilled out a few as if some had already been fired and only the empty barrel was left. No, as I stated before, this is definitely a first for me. A base, never done one before, or a diorama for that matter. So got some base work done with some Tamiya 2-part putty to get some terrain, followed up with fresh mud effect from Vallejo, and dusted with pigments. Definitely learning some stuff here.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Being more of a typical aircraft builder, I'm using aircraft base colors on this build. So after the prime, everything got a coat of Tamiya gunmetal thinned with Mr. Leveling Thinner, a lacquer thinner. I see the fascination now with lacquer thinner with Tamiya paints. The finish is excellent. This finish was continued on all the parts down to the legs. Afterwards, I sponged on Mission Models RAL 8017 and Mission Models Worn Tires color to add some variations in the base color as a basic beginning weathering. Mission Models gloss black base on the main barrels of the guns, and this was followed up by Mission Models Chrome. Going with a heated metal effect on the front of the barrel, I started with a thin layer of gold, followed up with a Winsor & Newton purple ink thinned with IPA. I prefer the highest percentages at 99%. Followed by cyan blue ink, also thinned with IPA. Then, black India ink, again thinned with IPA. Did some more colors on the weapons, again being unfamiliar with the genre, I just winged it with colors that made sense to me. Also bearing in mind the direction that I was going and hoping to achieve. For the diorama, I'm using an extra optional head as a serrated head ripped from an opponent and primed. I drilled out the back and added harness leads and such to add to the damage effect. To further the weathering process, I added some rust tones on the legs. This is just an initial pass, and I will be adding more later on. I began weathering the weapons. I gave them a bit of a dry brush with enamel chrome silver. The effect is more evident in person than it is in this picture. I began adding the main colors using Mission Models green and light copper. The main element of this figure is going to be green and black with gold, and in some places yellow, representative of my old high school colorings. The armor attachments got the decided green and black color scheme, well, more tire black. And I decided to add some more battle weariness and did one shoulder plate as a replacement part from another Titan, hence the yellow and silver trim. I started trimming out all the pistons and high shine parts using brass, gold, copper, and in some cases black for hoses and pipes. Again, copper and brass on this arm piece to give some idea of differences in metals. Also copper and gold and black on the hip groin area, again to show some metallic differences and for some visual interest. The various details picked out in black, gold, and copper on the main body. Further dry brushing will be done to tone these colors down and weather them back into the scheme. Now I've pretty much completed the base paint work on the main body. Up next I start the decals. Usually I don't, but I added a light gloss coat to help the decal settle. The paint was smooth enough, but seeing that I'm unfamiliar with this genre and brand, and unsure how the decals would respond to solutions, I wasn't taking any chances. Also, I took this opportunity to do a bit of chipping. Here is one part of the armor that was missing from the first picture, and the rocket launchers. I still have the rocket heads to paint, and I used some leftover decals from my spares to add some extra details such as warning and hazard labels. Again, my aircraft mentality showing through. I took some liberties with the main weapons as well, and I used some spare decals destined for trash. I had these pictures posted on Facebook, and of course I got some flack for this from the purists. Again, my aircraft mentality, and besides, I think they look a lot more legit this way. Moving back to the base, I added the victim head. I also added some stones for rubble and such to finish the basic layout. Also some early wood effects on what is supposed to be a broken phone pole. I did a little bit more work on the base, added some grass effects with some flocking supplies I had from the previous job. Don't hate, but as I said, this is all a first for me. Then some other supplies that I had left over, I added some shrubbery. Then I begin to some of the main primary weathering. So with oils I started washing all the panel line, sponging on some various shades to help with a cast metal effect like this Titan has seen quite a lot of battle. With an olive green oil paint I started a graduated shadow from the surrounding trim to give some depth to the armor plate, blending them in as I work towards the center. Here you can still see that it needs some softening up along the edges with a dry brush once the oil sets a little bit more. This process is carried across all the pieces, the arm pieces and some ankle parts. The build is starting to come together, one leg is fixed to the base. With a mixture of different earth tone pigments, mixed with thinner, the first dust layer is added as a base. Then, with fresh mud, earth and perk soil enamels, I gave some splashes to tie it all together. Splashing technique is done by flicking a paintbrush with a small amount of paint off a toothpick, causing the accumulated dots or splashes. I got the ankle parts onto the second leg, which gets me that much closer to a full assembly. The arm pieces got the armor attached, which was then attached to the weapon. Some parts of the armor had gotten some well beads as if they were repaired. The top mount rocket launchers are completed and ready to be installed. The main weathering to one side is pretty much all done. Here we see some preliminary work on the top and on the front. Also to the underside rear. The hip and groin part is all done and ready to be installed. The lower leg armor for the leg is in place and receives some splashes to blend in. As seen in the previous picture, the hip and groin part is also installed. These little crest parts got some chipping on the decal, which was done with a toothpick and the base color. The second leg with the side armor is installed. This was positioned to give the effect of the Titan running. Here we get another view of that second leg installed. All the toe parts were cut off and repositioned to add to the running effect and give some idea of weight as they hung. We've got one shoulder armor set put together. The shields on the weapons were installed. The other shoulder armor assembly was put together. I temporarily mounted the torso as a preview, also just to see how it was coming together, and also you can see some of the thigh armors in place here. The other side has now gotten a wash to complete most of the weathering. Some more rust streaks are added to build up what was there. The effect works nice when it's done in layers. Here we've got the head and some side armor in place. And then we go to another torso test fit. The rocket launchers are now positioned on. The rest of the side armor was put in place, but this might look a little bit odd to the enthusiasts, but I made a huge mistake here. One of the leg armor pieces was missing and I wasn't paying attention, and not having the instruction sheet didn't help either. I tried to make the missing part with what I thought was extra armor. I later found out that this wasn't the case, hence why part of it seems to be cut off. Here you can see some soot stains made for the exhaust stacks. This was done with pigments. The arms and main weapons are now attached and the menacing appearance is starting to set in. To add to the running effect, I positioned the whole body slightly forward so that it could give the illusion of some heft. Nearing completion, we now have all the shoulder armor added. Getting into the final stages with all the main weathering done. During the process of this build, there was one leg piece that was actually missing from the kit. All attempts to find it were all in vain. We did not find this. I made several attempts to scratch build a part, mold one, etc. Finally, I got a part that I was happy with. Good thing about it is it was on the leg that is towards the back and it was facing down, so it's barely visible. But here we can see it's all painted up, all in place, everything assembled, it's all complete.